Cool. Good evening, good morning, good day, everyone. Welcome to the Cluster API Provider AWS office hours on Monday, the 7th of March, 2022. A reminder that we abide by the CNCF Code of Conduct, so please be kind to each other. The meeting notes are shared in this window. I will put the link into the chat, but I think everyone knows that it's currently on the call. But if someone else new joins, I will put it into the chat window. Can you add your names? I think pretty much everyone has already, which is great. And any other topics that you would like to discuss in this. And like most of the meetings, we use the raise hands feature in Zoom. So please use that if you'd like to talk. I don't see anyone new today. So there's no one new to introduce themselves. So I hope we can skip that as well. Brilliant. So we can start with the PSAs. I've put a comment in there that the return of AWS managed cluster, this may be coming back. And then I added the maybe later after Sedef's added her comment below. So last week, we had a discussion between a few providers and upstream CAPI about what managed Kubernetes looks like. And I think most people are aware of what the outcomes of that were. One was there would be a proposal written between the three main providers about ideally what managed Kubernetes looks like, and what we would like to see potentially as changes to the API upstream. But we would also investigate if we could do anything short term to get cluster class working. And one of those things we could do short term is reintroducing an AWS managed cluster. So I will pass it on to Sedef to go through a comment.
Yes, I was thinking about this a little bit more. Since this is a major change and we G8 EKS, I want to understand if there's an ask from the community to have a short-term solution. Because, are there any users, customers that are planning to move to cluster class anytime soon? If not, we can do this one time properly and go with it, because it will be too much problem to go back to using two CRDs. And then if we decide after the proposal, we want to go back to a single resource, because this is the idea in CAPZ as well, right? They want to maintain a single resource. So eventually, if we ended up deciding on that, it will be too much going back and forth. So I just wanted to collect thoughts on it.
Yes, go for it, Winnie.
Yeah, I actually have the same concern as Setup mentioned. So supporting cluster class for EKS is I think it can wait. I'm just worried that if we decide to introduce AWS managed cluster, we will actually need to think about what's the implication for the existing users, and we will probably need to deprecate the fields, right? Control plane endpoint and like failure domains in AWS managed control plane, because like it will be now in like AWS managed cluster. So yeah, I think like we should actually write the proposal first before enabling this. That's my opinion.
Cool. I don't disagree with that either. I think if there's no customers, banging the door down saying we want cluster class with EKS right now, I would agree with Sedef and Winnie, definitely. I guess on the flip side, I actually think it would be fairly easy for us to reintroduce AWS managed cluster, but still support both operational models. Just go back to making it basically a lightweight or anemic resource kind that just passes the value across, so that you could still use a managed control plane in both or one in the other. But yeah, I think it confuses it. Yeah, it would confuse it if we went down that route. So yeah, sounds like we've come to a decision on that then, doesn't it? Yeah.
So how about we for the folks that doesn't join to this meeting, should we make a poll in the maybe Kappa channel to see if there's any ask in the near future to support this, to make sure?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. So I actually add that as an action item. Yeah, I will reword that afterwards. Cool. Did we got this on the agenda for later on? Maybe no, we haven't. So probably before we get onto the other agenda items, it's probably a good point to also discuss. I know Winnie, you had a question on this. How we go about getting this proposal written across the three providers with other, about managed Kubernetes.
Yeah, I asked this because that was one of the action item from last week's meeting. So I think we'll just start working on it. Synchronously, maybe.
Yeah, well, I think maybe we could ping Cecile and some of the other people from CapZ, and also Carlos and maybe Dims from CapG, and try and get everyone on a call, maybe.
Yeah, we can. So we will have a CapG office hour probably this week. So we can bring it up there.
Yeah, cool. And maybe one of us can also attend the Azure office hours as well and bring it up there. Should we take that as an action item?
Yeah, I can do that. I already have an issue to discuss with CapZ folks, so I can take that action item.
Hey, perfect. CapZ and CapG. Cool. Brilliant. So there's no more PSAs, so we can move on to the agenda. Shivani, you have the first item.
Yeah, so it's regarding the AWS resource reference. So we have this struct in Kappa and we use it to like for subnets in the spec. So currently there is a comment that basically in this AWS resource reference, we have three field ID, filters, and ARN. And there is one comment that we can specify only one of them. And if someone specify more than one, then they will get a validation error. So I just want to discuss that we should follow this comment, or can we do some changes? Like, is there any reason why we are supporting this? We are not allowing user to provide more than one field.
I'll just wait to see if anyone else has a comment. Zadef, you can go for it.
Yeah, so about this, so actually we describe methods in AWS SDK does not usually have ARNs. It is really difficult to use ARN fields, but filters and IDs are there for most of our calls. So if we can deprecate, even we don't need to deprecate because ARN field is no at the moment. So we can just delete that field and do a search on both ID and filters wherever we do search, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so if like everyone aligned, I think we can change this comment and can allow operation on both ID and filter. Yes, Ankita?
Yeah, so actually the deprecation part, there is one more PR that I'm handling. So I'm taking care of the deprecation of ARN field in that. So just wanted to highlight it.
Yeah, so fine, then ARN is resolved. So now just a poll, like, so we should consider both ID and filters.
Can you repeat?
So should we use both IDs and filters in subnet query? Like when we are going to describe, can we use both IDs and filter? And I can change like this comment also. So should we discuss it in the channel, or like how should we proceed with the decision?
Yeah, so there is a comment since, yeah, I think we should, it will be easy to follow that comment. Only one of the fields, if only one of the fields are allowed to be specified, things will be clear. Otherwise, there's a conflict that we discussed offline about if we are gonna use the union of two searches or intersection of these searches. To avoid confusion, I think we can follow this comment and just support. But I don't know what others think. But
Yeah, I would agree with you, Sadaf. I find it confusing to specify both. So I can't see why you'd specify ID and a filter. I find that confusing.
Okay, then fine, we can go with this comment. And the second point is regarding, so it's a generic discussion, like whenever we have any struct in our code, then should we use the ended approach or the odd approach, like with the field, similar to, like if we see the example of AWS resource reference. So if suppose we allow both ID and filter, then should we do their end operation or operation? So regarding this, I discussed with like Cappy folks also. So there is no strict guideline as such currently that we should use and or we should use or, but currently like they are also doing as per their use case. So in cluster class they are using or approach, but at other places they are using and. So I think it's up to the there is no any perfect guideline. And I have checked one SIG network channel also. So there Tim Hawking also was mentioning that there is no perfect guideline. So I think there was no conclusion on this.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that there is no consistency there. I'm guessing it's a case of one size doesn't always fit everything, so you can't really be that prescriptive.
So I think we can like leave this open. Only if anyone has any comments or opinions, they can add it and maybe we can use it later. Yes, Madhur?
Yeah, actually, I was just wondering that is there any AWS resource where we need to specify both IDs and filters? Because we
Actually,
we have both the fields in the reference. So just was curious.
So in Kubernetes selectors, there is one object like Kubernetes label selector. So there we have two fields inside one struct labels selector called match labels and match expressions. So there they are doing the end of these two fields. So match expression is introduced for the new objects, but for the old objects like pod deployment, they were using match labels. Other than that, I also have not seen any example where they are doing such and example or like or example. Does it answer your question?
Yeah, I think if there is no AWS resource which can have both IDs and filters while describing it, so is there any scope of improvement in changing this struct? Like why do we have a single struct having two fields where only one of them can be specified at a time? Just
no, ID and filter can be specific. They both can be specified in the describe call, but we are only allowing one of them. Either user pass the ID or just the filters.
I think then it's on the AWS side. You mean that they are accepting both the things?
Yeah, they can accept both the things.
I have a comment regarding that. Actually, we have this situation in multi-tenancy. In allowed namespaces, we have a field for list and selectors. and I use the approach of ORing them, following the network policies. But there is no clear, when I was checking this, there was no clear guideline around this. So as, I mean, per case specific, we can rediscuss this issue.
Yeah.
Cool. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So next,
Gosh, Valley.
yes. Yeah. So next topic is regarding like I received one review comment from Richard on one of my PR that we should use Go CMP over the Reflect in our code base. So Ankita created one issue, and if you open this link, so I've drafted actually one scenario where I also think like Go CMP works well with the comparison then Reflect. So if you have, suppose they were, I'm not sure is it useful for our purpose or not, but if we see the example of time zones. So time zones, if you compare in two different locations with Reflect, then it gives you an error. But if you use Go CMP in comparing it, then it will results that they are same. And ideally they are same. So we should get something similar. So I have like jotted some points here, like I personally feel that cnp.equal is better over Reflect. And if anybody has any points over it, then we can discuss.
Yeah, I'm definitely in favor of Go CMP just because it allows you to write that custom equals function.
Yeah. So should we go ahead with replacing our code base with Go CMP then Reflect?
Yeah, I'll be in favor of that. Yeah.
Okay, so we have already one issue that is created by Ankita, and maybe if we want, we can make it good first issue and open it for the new folks or anything that you suggest.
Yep, that's done.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
Thanks.
that's it.
Thanks, Giovanni. Steph, you have the next topic.
Yeah, so last week we started having code walkthroughs for the new contributors, and I created a discussion topic to collect ideas on what new contributors would want to see in the upcoming walkthroughs. We are planning to do them bi-weekly, regularly. So yeah, it's just FYI.
Cool. Yeah, so the next one will be on the 17th of March then. Just 2 weeks afterwards, isn't it? Cool. All right, so I got the next one, which is about the long-term roadmap for Kappa. So we did have, so I think Steph, you created the discussions. There is a discussion topic about long-term and short-term roadmap. And my question, I guess, or open for discussion, is about how do we make this happen? And is this the best way still to discuss and plan these things? You know, the reason why I thought about this was last week when we were doing the code walkthrough, and you know, it was mentioned about ACK, for example. If we did want to do that, you know, that's a large piece of work and a large refactor. It's like, I guess, what is our process for approaching those, you know, significant changes and getting them on the roadmap? So yeah, it's more of a, how do we do this? How do we plan this? And if anyone has any ideas, yeah, go for it, Steph.
So asynchronously, we can all go to our backlog and see some features. Maybe we can start by adding all the features from our backlog to this discussion topic. And then in the next office hours, we can go over them one by one and try to prioritize them. That's basic approach.
Yeah, yeah, that would definitely be a start. Anyone else have any thoughts? Yeah, cool. Yeah, we can do that. We do that in the next office hours. Brilliant. Ankita, you have the next topic.
Yeah. So there was one issue open sometime back regarding whether we should use pointers or non-pointers for the optional field. And in the issue itself, we had some of the discussions regarding whether to use pointers or not. But we found out that in some cases we should use pointers, like for example, for the primitive data types, we have to use pointers, or as it is quoted in the contributing guidelines of CAPI, that the any struct type which contains only the optional fields, and maybe those type of structs should be considered as pointers. So my point is that we cannot make it purely consistent whether we are using pointers itself or using non-pointers. So somewhere in our contributing guidelines itself, we can mention like where we should follow the pointers and where we should not, and then make it probably work. So I wanted to get the feedback on this.
Yeah, sorry, let me open the issue as well. I saw someone click on it. Yeah, where was it? Yeah, I think that's an important, it's a valid point as well that you put in there, Sadef. Does anyone have this issue assigned? Yeah, no one's assigned to it yet. So it's the result of this that we publish some guidance in our contributing guide about when to use each, with some examples.
So there is a guide in cluster API book. So do we need to add it to our?
Chris, let's have a look.
Yeah, our Kappa book also.
And we have to make changes in the APIs as well, because right now it's like, it's not consistent on where we are using pointers and whether it is really required to make those fields as pointers. So we have to make API changes as well as part of this.
Yeah. Sadef, go for it.
Yeah, my only comment is if we are to do this, we should really be careful about conversion and not to break things. This may be a little bit complicated.
Yeah. It'd be easier to just do it for new changes going forwards, wouldn't it? Yeah, I personally have an issue with the pointers, especially when it comes to things like strings, because we end up having lots of tests where we test for a null string and then an empty string, whereas actually if it was just a string and it emits empty, then it would be, you just did a test for empty string. But yeah, always seems a little bit messy in the code. So how do we want to resolve this one? Did someone want to take this, and then we can always just update our docs and point to the CAPI? Or we can just discuss it.
Yeah, maybe I can, drive this and then take this conversation. But do we want to confirm it with CAPI folks as well?
I think it needs to be consistent where possible. But if we truly believe something is, if we believe that we want to do something that is different, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's probably worth a discussion.
Sure. Maybe, what I can do is I can draft few of the things that we have and where can we make it consistent across our repository. Like you suggested for string, we should not follow pointers. Some constraints like that, we can bring it up and then probably discuss in the GAPI office hours as well.
Cool.
So yeah, the guidelines in CAPI is not following Kubernetes guidelines, API convention guidelines 100%. So we need to make sure which one we choose and be consistent with it. So as far as I see in the Kubernetes API guidelines, if it is like optional, it is to be pointer type, but in the cluster API guideline, it is stating that if you need to differentiate nil and null, then it needs to be a pointer. So there's a little bit distinction there.
Good. More consistency. Yeah. Yeah, so I could do, yeah, if you wanted to have a look at both of those. Yeah, because I guess, yeah, that would require discussion upstream with CAPI as to why they didn't follow this.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm guessing there was some reasoning and a decision process there. We could understand that.
Sure.
Cool, brilliant. So who do we have next? Winnie, you have the next item.
Yeah. So I created an issue to make our logging more consistent, and I think there was a contributor, I think from WebWorks, who worked on a POC, and there are a lot of discussion on this issue that we want to follow with like KH and the CAPI ecosystem, and I just want to know whether we reach the agreement and we can actually start working on it, because there are a lot of logging improvement happening in like KH upstream. So they actually added structured logging. They are removing KLog flags and a lot of things. But I actually want to make sure that we can make progress on this.
Yeah, so I spoke to Goge, who does work at Weaveworks. He was going to attend this meeting, but he couldn't make it this week. So yeah, I don't necessarily want to speak for him. But I guess, yeah, on the second point, we do need to be aware of the upstream changes in Kubernetes as well, don't we? Does anyone else have a Sadef?
So shall we follow up on the issue itself, because the person that opened the PR has not joined to our last office hours as well. Not to delay this any further, we can ping him on the issue, because I mean there's a kind of general consensus of trying to not diverge from cluster API ecosystem too much by writing an interface and introducing warnings and different kind of error messages, but following cluster API, whatever cluster API is using mainly. I mean, we can get the consensus in the issue itself.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think a lot of the problem as well was around the usage of the verbosity level, and it not being clear from like when do I use verbosity level 2 or 4 or 9, especially, yeah, I find it confusing. So yeah, there's ways around that where we don't have to, like you say, use error and info or trace functions. But yeah, I think that's fair to follow up on the issue. Yeah. Cool. So Sadef and Abhinav, you have the next issue.
Yeah, just an introduction. So last week we started working with Abhinav. He's LFX intern for the next 3 months in Kiapa. So welcome, Abhinav. I will leave the stage to you to give a brief introduction on what you are gonna working on.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sadaf, and thank you so much for the entire team to have me on board. It feels quite exciting to be a part of officially as a part of the Kappa team, and I hope I get to learn a lot more from all of the folks as well, as I've already troubled Richard quite a lot during my initial contribution phases. I'm quite positive that I'll be troubling most of you, if not all of you, in the team through my questions and queries in the Slack channels. So yeah, once again, thank you so much. All right, so I need to share my screen, but it seems to have been disabled.
Yeah, I will sort that out for you. You should be able to do it now.
Yep. Thanks, Richard. And I hope my screen is visible now. Is it?
It is, yeah. Yeah, I can see it.
All right, thanks. And so here's the initial document that I've come up with after pretty much going through the original proposal. I think that has been worked up quite a lot, and it has been in progress since, I guess, 2020 itself. And there's a lot of work that has went into this proposal. And after going through the basics or the surface of what we actually need to do, we basically have 4 goals here. The first one is to automate building the AMIs on each and every Kubernetes release. But along with this, whenever there is an error in the previously built AMIs, I think we also intend to rebuild the AMIs. And we also have to pick up the critical bug or security fixes in any OS package along with that process. And finally, I think the last point is to, so we have to automate the publishing of AMIs within the repo itself through the PROW jobs to the CNCF-owned AWS account each and every time any new AMIs are built. So the possible approach, I think, for now, after going through the entire document, which we could come up with, Sataf and I, we had a discussion last week. And the initial points that I could jot down was, first of all, we have to create a periodic PROW job to watch for the latest K8s releases along with the OS bug or critical patches. I think the OS package point is mentioned as a point 3. And whenever a new K8s or OS patch is spotted, a GitHub bot will create an automated PR, and that PR will consist of all the changes that we will have to publish to the repository itself, which will eventually trigger a pre-submit job that will also build and test the updated AMIs. But the publishing part will only take place once it's merged into the repository. So that will be a post-submit job. Now, one thing that I spotted as part of the configuration that we'll have to change, I think this is kind of a template that we could go forward with, which will be changed in order to trigger a pre-submit or post-submit job. And yeah, I don't think it's pretty much used anywhere in the code itself as of now, but it can go well as a template that we can use in order for us to detect whether or not we have to publish any changes. Yeah, apart from that, I think, we have all the supported OSs and distributions, so we'll be mostly focusing on these only. I'm not sure if there are any other operating systems that we'll have to focus on. But more or less, I think this is the initial approach that I think would be feasible for us to proceed with. There will definitely there would be a lot more improvements. I think Nikita has also mentioned a few things over here, and rest of the things I think go well with what I have mentioned as a possible approach for carrying out this process. So if any of you have any suggestions, or if you can provide any insights into how feasible it would be, or like if whether or not there would be any like efficiency issues, then please do so.
That's brilliant, Abhinav. Have you shared the link to this by any chance?
Oh, sorry, I think I forgot to do that. Yep, let me just.
Oh, you can do it afterwards, don't worry. Yeah. Cool. Perfect. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, so I'll definitely read it and I'll comment, leave any comments.
All right. Yeah. So the comment access is also there too. So please, if I think more or less the original idea is entirely present in the original document as well, and it is actually well made. So kudos for all the team who has worked on this for so long. And I think this would be like a great project in the long run, because we could pretty much eradicate all the redundancy and all the like manual efforts we have been doing so far in publishing the AMIs. Yep. Sadaf, would you like to add anything on top of this?
Yeah, thanks, Abhinav. Yeah, so the importance of this project is going forward, all community members will be able to publish AMIs, because right now it is restricted to only VMware employees. We can publish. There were a few issues with Flatcar, for example, image build along the way. So this is super critical for us. And also we are delaying sometimes on building new AMIs when Kubernetes releases got published. So this will improve it a lot. One thing challenging about this project is that, so we are planning on first building the AMIs, then testing the AMIs, then promoting the AMIs as published. So there should be a promotion path there, because if the tests fail on the AMIs published, we should go and clean up the AMIs that's created. Maybe we do it as a second step to the project, but this is a concern that we need to address during the process.
Yeah, so I think I mentioned earlier that the publishing process would not be like a part of the pre-submit job. It'll only take place once the PR is actually merged. So it would be more or less of a post-submit job, and we'll have to like take care of it. So it would be a push action, right? So a push and a pull request are pretty much differentiable within GitHub as well. So once the push action is like committed, I think that would be a better approach for us to like remove this need to remove like delete any failed AMI builds or like buggy AMI builds. Any comments on that?
Yeah, I'm thinking of how Prowl would handle that, but I guess you build locally, test locally, and then only push afterwards. Is that right? Is that, I'll have to read, sorry. Yeah, I'm just trying to picture it in my head.
Yeah, I think there should be a different pro job for the cleaning up process, because I mean, we are gonna build the AMIs and then we will do the test on it. Then maybe if that test fails, that test itself can go and clean up the AMIs. Yeah, I'm not sure yet. We need to discuss a little bit more.
So I need to know one thing. When we are building the AMIs, it's not getting pushed on the spot anywhere, right? Or is it?
It will have to be pushed somewhere, so that when, I guess, the tests, so you're going to run the end-to-end tests with those AMIs? Is that the idea?
All right. So is it being pushed to the GCR itself initially, or like some AWS bucket or something?
So you mean our current reference AMI we publish regularly, right?
Yeah, so I think the publish job, like it's currently carried out manually, right? So it's only published when we are sure whether or not it's passing the tests. Isn't that so? Because it's all manual.
No, not really. So we are creating the images, and then we upgrade our end-to-end tests in the repo itself. Then, I mean, there's not, in the manual process, we do not run tests actually. Once we create the images, they are there, publicly available. If there's an error and if tests do not pass, we go ahead and recreate those images.
All right. Yeah, I think we can discuss this offline in detail about what the approach could be for that, like cleaning up process.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, I think that's going to be interesting, isn't it? Whether you have the Jinko after test type tear down, maybe. Yeah. Yeah, sounds good for offline. Cool. Any more comments? Yeah, on that before we move on. No, cool. Let me share. I'll share again if that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Cool. So Sadef, yours is the next topic.
Yes, I just wanted to bring up this PR to everyone's attention on draining the nodes in our machine pools. This is a feature that we wanted to add for a while. We are not currently draining the nodes when there is machine pool scale up and down. And there are few ways to solve this issue. The PR used autoscaling group lifecycle hooks. Yeah, but this does not, yeah, we need to make sure, CAPC is using machine pool machines to solve this issue. But yeah, there's a different mechanism in Azure. I don't know the exact reasoning why they needed machines, because I mean, like, why lifecycle hooks was not enough. But at the same time, there's a machine pool machines proposal ongoing that we can utilize to fix this. I'm not sure if we can solely rely on autoscaling group lifecycle hooks for this. And we will definitely need support for spot instances, spot instance draining. We need to consider that as well in this PR. Just wanted to bring this up in everyone's attention. We probably will need a proposal for this before merging this issue, because this is a big change that will affect the spot instance support as well.
Cool. Do we have a label for proposal needed? Just have it.
I just added a comment to the PR itself.
Yeah. Because we do, we have like an ADR required. So like if there's a decision, so I'm wondering if we also need to add a proposal required. Just so it's explicit, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, comment will do for the time being. Cool. Okay, yeah, moving on. So Ankita, you're next.
Yeah, so this might be a very naive question, but I have recently started checking the API def and recently faced some problems in my ongoing PRs. So in the report of the API def, we get some list of changes as the compatible change and some list is incompatible change. So I wanted to understand, like, whatever changes we get in the incompatible, shall we consider reverting those changes back since this is a breaking change, or how should we proceed in such cases?
I'm just going to get so this is the example, isn't it?
Exactly. So here nothing was done, just one of the function was renamed, and it is telling that it's an incompatible change because we have changed the function name now. So whether or not we should move ahead with this change.
So in cluster API, this happens too. Usually this is reviewed like manually. And if we think that this is not a breaking change, we like do the merge by just ignoring this.
Oh, okay. So while merging, we are not considering this as the criteria to get merged, is it?
I mean, there can be exceptions. We need to review the PR and see if that API change is really a breaking API change that we want to avoid or not. That's my
Okay.
take, at least. I don't know what Richard thinks.
Yeah, I'm just looking at where this is actually occurring. So this is in our cloud services. Yeah, this is publicly exported at the moment, isn't it? So technically, someone could be referencing it, and it could be a change, a breaking change to someone. But a lot of these packages were designed purely for our own use. So I would be in favour of is a related issue of start moving a lot of this stuff to internal that we've only ever designed to be used by Kappa itself. But yeah, this feels like it's not. This should be allowed. Go for it, Winnie.
Yeah, I saw that in CapG, they actually had the exact same concern as we do. So there is actually, let's see, let me put it here. They were talking about like restricting it to only API folder. I don't know what the conclusion is, but yeah, API, adding this API test like fails like a lot of things. So I think like we can also think about what do we want to test for make API dip target.
Yeah, I think that's. So should we have a discussion on the? Is there an issue for there is, isn't there? Okay, do we have an issue to discuss this,
no.
or no?
No, I can open one.
Yeah, I agree that probably we only actually want to run these on things in our API folders, but then we should also do this. The code structure should also make things obvious that they're not designed to be imported by other applications. So the use of internal, etc. Winnie, you still got your hand up. Did you?
Oh no.
Okay. So Def, go for it.
Yeah, about moving things to an internal package. So the readability of the repository is getting a little bit like difficult when I mean, after cluster API move things to internal, it is a little bit higher learning curve, in my opinion, to follow up the general repository structure. Given that providers' code, as Richard mentioned, is mostly for our own use, do we wanna follow the exact same pattern with cluster API or not? We have an issue for this, for moving everything that is not exposed to internal. But when I went through those, everything will be go to internal other than cluster AWS ADM library.
That's a good point. And we could also put something in the doc somewhere to say this is not, the code is not designed for reuse except for the API folders. Yeah, that's a very good point. So maybe we should comment on so we can comment on the internal issue then for thoughts on that.
Sure. We can do that.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. So moving on. So this is more of just a general question about the flat car PR. Is anyone aware of anything that is outstanding on that?
About the ignition PR?
Yeah.
That is pending on me. I need to do the final review. Thanks for reviewing that. There was an issue about flat car images that's created by Matthew in the image builder. So yeah, but that shouldn't block us from merging the PR itself. That is more like we are missing some tags in the flat car images.
Okay.
So we will follow up on that.
Yeah. Cool. Brilliant. And then last section, last one is me. When I sort of added provisionally some new sections to the agenda, just to see if people agree or disagree with that. So I've called them after hours, stealing from the CAPZ naming of it, was where idea being, it's where we currently do bug triage, but also if someone wanted any informal help, they could add it to these sections, and these wouldn't be recorded and optional. So if you weren't interested in those, you could drop off the call. So I don't know what people think of those additions and making them explicit in our agenda. Any opinions? No. Cool. Well, think about it, and then we can see. We can discuss it again on the next office hours. Cool. So that's the end of the agenda. Is there anything else anyone would like to discuss? No. Cool. I would say we don't have time for bug triage in 5 minutes, so we can probably skip that this week. So yeah, no more. So I will pause recording and speak to you all in a couple of weeks. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.